sensitive to subtleties. And when I wake up, I can hear them even if they're really soft. Most people don't hear them. I can hear them. So anything that's repeating and pattern noise. Welcome to Midlife with Orchid. Let's explore the nuance and the courageous moments of midlife. Let's share stories, reflection, insight, and conversation over coffee, where life's rhythms, revelations, and everyday courage can be witnessed and honored. This is Orchid, your host and storyteller. Recovery the night before shapes how I experience the following day. So my bedtime routine, my bedtime ritual, how I go into the bed, how I enter the bed chamber, how I enter the bedroom, how I position myself in the bed, how I prepare for sleep really sets up the following day for me. I prefer to have plenty of time to myself, that buffer time in between schedules and tasks throughout the day that supports me, that allows me to experience my day in such a way that feels satisfying. So I start my day the night before. I do prefer to take a shower before I go to bed. It allows me to just feel refreshed, to set the night as it feels like it's a brand new day already the night before. And once I'm in bed, I like to aim for an hour to settle my nervous system, to wind down. Plenty of time. I sleep with eye mask and I also sleep with earplugs because I tend to hear every little thing, and any movement or any forms of lighting that could touch my eyes, that can tend to wake me up. It might just be because I'm also in perimenopause. Seems like I'm more sensitive to subtleties. And when I wake up, I like to start with gratitude. I like to fill my heart with positivity and something good feeling, and gratitude tends to move me in that trajectory. So I am grateful, and I don't even start with great gratitude for big days, just grateful that I wake up with my comfortable bed, that I feel good, and I'm grateful that the day is going to unfold in a good way. So I am setting up good expectations. And then as the day progresses, I hydrate first of all before I even have coffee. And with previous episode, I have mentioned that I have transitioned to pour over. That's my choice for how I roast my coffee, how I prepare my coffee. That in and of itself also is ritualistic. It allows me to slow down, to take my time. And as I mentioned, I prefer to have a lot of buffer time. Therefore, I am going to bed early because I like to wake up early as well. I don't wake up with an alarm anymore. I don't use an alarm. I like to naturally allow my body plenty of time to wake up naturally. I do not schedule back to back unless I have to. I spread anything reoccurring task throughout the week. So if I can only focus on tasks that are reoccurring, one or two of those a day, that sets up the entire week for me in a way that feels balanced and manageable. I limit spontaneity and uncertainty as much as possible. It's important that I have a structure, schedule, routine, and rituals, which helps ground myself. So as a highly sensitive, the scientific term is sensory processing sensitivity. I have a low sensory threshold when it comes to pattern noise or anything that's vibration, anything that's repeating. It doesn't have to be really loud. I can hear them even if they're really soft. Most people don't hear them. I can hear them. So anything that's repeating and pattern noise, my threshold for that is low. Unpleasant smell or strong odor, that's going to be too stimulating for me. Anything that is contrasting light or even flashing light, that is something that it's difficult to tolerate. Like I can probably tolerate it for a few minutes, but for the most part just a few seconds, and it already is starting to become overwhelming. And fluctuations in temperature, especially if it fluctuates so rapidly, that as well can be too stimulating. So any of those can evoke stress, which just added on to the processing and the overstimulation that is inevitable as a highly sensitive. Highly sensitive, HSP, highly sensitive person, highly sensitive people. Dr. Elaine Aron has done a immense amount of research, I believe dated back into 91 or 97. She has a book that I picked up back in 21 is when I really allowed myself to learn about me, because I have tested as someone who have high sensitivity. So she has a self-assessment testing on her website, hsperson.com. And there is a self-assessment test. Highly sensitive person, sensory processing sensitivity is not a diagnosis, but is an innate trait, just as introversion or extroversion. And she came up with this acronym that you can easily understand what is the trait of a highly sensitive. The acronym is DOES or DOES, DOES, D for depth of processing, O for overstimulation, E for emotional reactivity, and S for sensitivity or sensing the subtleties. 15 to 20% of the population is known to be, by research, highly sensitive. And sensitivity actually is present in 100 animals, even fruit flies. So I won't go into detail about that. You would have to either pick up the book or check out her website. Once again, hsperson.com. Also, I have learned that Alanis Morissette, y'all know Alanis Morissette, or most of you know Alanis Morissette. I was drawn to Alanis Morissette in high school. And then when I found out that I'm highly sensitive, there is a movie called The Sensitive or Sensitive documentary. And Alanis Morissette was being interviewed by Dr. Elaine Aron in that movie. That's right now, it's free on Amazon, Sensitive documentary. I recommend watching that. If you yourself is a highly sensitive and you're just learning about it, or some of your friends or maybe some of your family may appear or portray some of the traits of a sensitive. I took the quiz on Dr. Elaine's website. It's free. It has been revised and updated. The quiz is 18 questions. You would answer the questions ranging from never, moderate, often, and extremely. When I took the test, the quiz most recently, I scored 5.89, which is high tendency towards sensitivity. And the score ranges from 0 to 7. So once again, this is not a diagnosis. This ultimately sensitivity, or ultimately the way that we navigate life, it has to do with our nervous system. So a highly sensitive person has a more reactive nervous system to environmental stimuli. So anything that is around me, I'm having to process them more deeply as a highly sensitive. A normal or regular person who's not as sensitive can most likely go through the world and filter out a lot of the things that is being processed by the sensory. As a highly sensitive, for me, I can go through the world, and for the most part, my brain, my nervous system is going to process deeply almost everything. So my energy can fluctuate throughout the day. That's why I limit uncertainty as much as possible and spontaneity, because overstimulation is a given as a highly sensitive. That's not even a question. I plan my day, and throughout the day, how can I limit the overstimulation? I can make plans. Sometimes I want to make plans, and I have to be flexible. And if I'm making plans with people, to communicate that not that I'm going to be flaky. Some people perceive that I could be flaky, but it's because of just my energy. This is my experience as highly sensitive, but not two highly sensitive are going to be alike. The experience is still going to be subjective. Just as the quiz, if you take the quiz, not the two highly sensitive is going to take the quiz similarly the same. So it's going to vary for everyone. I noticed that I was struggling creating this episode right now. I meant it to be reflective, but I guess I was trying to perform as well. That's the thing with highly sensitive also, is that highly sensitive can tend to be perfectionists, just want to do well all the time. But at the same time, if a highly sensitive is being watched, it's even if they are prepared, they prepared for a conversation or a talk, they may observe themselves and realize that why is it that I'm messing up even more than I prepared for. But I invite you all to look into HSP, because sometimes maybe there are people in your life and you're not aware that they're HSP, or maybe you yourself are sensitive, and hopefully this conversation, this talk is shedding a light into the areas, those subtleties where courage really is required of you, and most importantly, gentleness, tenderness, and kindness.